Hi, I'm Cathy and welcome to At Home with Cathy. And you are joining us on our 7th episode of our Annie Sloan Chalk Paint series, where we are working our way through my house using recipes and inspiration from this book by Annie, where she goes through 5 different styles of painting projects you may use in your house. But for our purposes, we added a 6th. And we're going to talk a little bit about how you figure out your palette when you are choosing what you want to do in a room. The inspiration for this room came from this color, which is now on the walls in all its brilliance. This is a color that if you told me I was going to paint this in a room in a million years, I never would have believed you, because I like calmer color usually. But this room is so bright and so beautiful with such great wide open window that it can take the color. So it really changed what we were doing. We knew we wanted a coastal themed room, but we were thinking more Atlantic coast with soft blue and a lot of gray. We're a little bit more Caribbean here. We've got a Caribbean coast going on. And it was a challenge for me because it changed, again, the color palette that I had in my mind for this room. I had no real inspiration for this room. I had no real piece that was calling to me, or a print or a pattern or anything. It was more the light in the room that gave me the color. We're going to use this room as mostly an office and a study, but it can also be a work area or a games room or a puzzle room. It has a futon in it that can pull out and become another spare room. It's the cat's room a lot of the time. It's just so bright and sunny in here, and we wanted to use it as more of a space. So in choosing this color, the blue Maldives, it led me to this as my palette. We're going to talk a little bit about how you figure out your palette. These are the colors I've chosen, and I've done my cheat sheet so that I can carry this around with me, because somewhere I'm going to have to find something, a piece of fabric I can use for cushions or a window treatment or something that incorporates most of these colors to help pull them all together. But here's how you do it. So this blue Maldives color is very close to our chalk paint color Provence. There's a lot of the same blue-green hue of a Caribbean sea in here. So if I pretend that this was the color I'm starting with, and I go to this wonderful color chart that Annie has developed, we're going to look at something here, and I've got scribbles on mine because I'm checking it all the time. Again, this isn't maybe going to be quite true to color, but here is my Provence. It's a bluey green. Now the colors that complement it are across from it. So just as a reference point, let's have a peek. There's my Provence. The color directly across from it is En Fleur, a brown. It's a beautiful combination, but it's a little bit too earthy for what I was looking for. So I put that one aside. Not too far off from that is Emperor Silk. Again, greens are beautiful complements to reds, so this had potential. Again, very beautiful together. Strong nautical impact. You often see a lot of a red with our marine blues. That's very common, but not quite what I was looking for. Again, a little bit too safe maybe. The other color that's directly across from it is Cocoa, a brown with some gray in it. Again, beautiful, but a little bit too soft, a little bit too safe, and maybe a little bit too warm for this room with all the sun. So I rejected that. Went the other way. I had used Arles quite a bit in other rooms. It's in our Scandinavian dining room, it's in our living room. So I went to the Barcelona orange, and I have to say, when I put those two together, it was bingo. Those were the colors that went. They're goldfish colors. They're colors that you see in tropical areas, you know, when they're doing an advertisement. You always see orange. It's a brilliant, warm, beautiful color. So that was the beginning. Obviously, I need more colors than that. I can't just paint 2 colors. So we're going to walk away from the chart for a minute, and we're going to look at the other colors I chose. Pure white is a natural. Pure white is the perfect foil for all these walls in here. It's what we've painted. All the trim has just been redone, and it's a beautiful white. It's crisp, it's clear, it keeps the blue really clean, which is what we wanted. So pure white is going to be in the palette. But we need something a little bit softer between these two. So I went to cream. That on its own is a really nice toning from a pure color to a little bit warmer color to the hot of the orange. It's just beautiful. To complement that, tone down our orange just a little bit. We're going to use French linen. This is going to be the driftwood color that I need in this room to kind of ground it and keep it coastal. Something that has an earthy element to it. Paris Gray is very similar for the same sort of reasons. It's got that gray sort of neutral, looks really nice against our orange. And we're going to use these not necessarily on our pieces, but in things that we finish around the rooms, maybe picture frames, or it'll be in the fabric we choose for cushions. Louis Blue gives us a blue that also goes with our Provence, so we have another blue in the room. And our final blue is a really strong anchor. It's our Napoleonic blue. So that is going to be our color palette for this room. And when you look at these colors, you've got on Annie's chart, you've got, here's your Napoleonic blue, your Louis blue, and your Provence all together. So they when they're together, they create a little bit more contrast or a little bit more interest. When they're apart from each other, they complement. So you want a little bit of that. These two colors are complements. These are complementary colors, and these ones just give brightness, the Provence, to the whole palette. So this is going to be our color palette for this room. That's how you pick it. You start with something and you just keep building until you have enough colors. Decorators will tell you probably up to 8 or 9 colors in a room is great, and have a little bit of black somewhere. That's very true, and there's a reason for it. If it's all one color, it's kind of dull. So we need it to be a little bit interesting. So how are we going to use these colors? The white is going to be the inside of our bookcase. It's an office area, study area. We need a place to store games. We need a place for books. So this is going to be the inside, which really you're not going to see very much. It's only going to be the back here, just to keep it bright. And cream is going to be what we do on the outside and on the shelves. And when you see the cream against this wall, the blue wall, you can see why we chose it. It has a lot more yellow in it than you might think. So it kind of brings the yellow we did in the rest of the house into this room, but it's in a little more subtle way. But you want that continuity in your house. You don't want your rooms to jar as you walk between them. So that's how we're going to use those two colors. The French linen and the Paris Gray are going to be used on the arms of the futon to create a driftwood look. And I haven't completely discounted doing the top of this in that same look, but I'm also going to use it on shelves, so that when we put a shelf up in here, it's going to look like a piece of driftwood if I can't find a piece of driftwood that actually is the right thing. Sometimes driftwood is a little bit too old and it won't stay together when you hang it up. The Provence I've taken out of the palette in terms of paint because it's already too close to what we're doing on the wall, but I keep it in here just for reference. The Napoleonic blue, we're going to paint an old chest that belonged to my grandfather, and was probably, he was in the Navy, so it was probably a chest that went around with him. It's old, it's beaten up, it's black, and we're going to paint it Napoleonic blue, and we're going to use the gilding waxes to give it some brightness on the rusted and sort of corroded brass handles, and you can get a shot of that if you like. So here's our Napoleonic blue. These are, it'll be this color, not too far off what it was, and we'll probably clear wax it because we want to keep it bright. We'll use a combination of the warm gold and the bright gold to make this look new again. It'll just give it a nice shine. And then we're going to use this trunk as a seat in this room, so we'll probably look for a cushion that we can cover the fabric, cover the cushion, find a material that draws all these colors together, and it'll go under the window, and it'll be an extra bench for when we need to work at the table or the cat to sit on. This is the fun color. This table is going to be in this room. It's going to be in the windows, which is a little bit hard to see right now because it's so bright out there today, which is lovely. But it's got a glass tabletop. So whatever we do with these legs, you're going to see. And I've been sitting in this room thinking, what are we going to do with these legs? We're going to paint these legs Barcelona orange, so that when you look underneath here, you're going to have a beautiful blast of color. When you come into the room, you're always going to see these legs really well because it's a glass tabletop. It's going to look great against the white trim. It's going to look really nice against the blue. And it'll just give us a punch color that we really need in this room. And then we'll find another place to use it, just as little accents all around. The same with the Louis blue, the Paris gray, and the French linen. They're going to be used as accents around the room. The last thing we have to do is paint these two chairs. I had started to paint one old white as a demo at the store. Then I found that fabric. And the fabric that's on the seat of that chair is a rich version of the color on the walls. So we're going to paint those chairs cream. And instead of painting the fabric on these seats, I'm going to strip it off and put this new fabric on. So we're going to bring that color off the wall and into the room. So I think what we're going to do for the rest of the episode is I'm going to show you how you paint the wicker on this wonderful lampshade that my friend Janet found. It matches this funky lamp, and as you can see, it's all painted black, and probably it might have been painted black. It might have started life as a wicker shade. It is a funky shade. It's a great lamp for reading because it has two light bulbs, so the light comes down. It's nice ambient light, and we are going to paint this cream so that it has a nice foil against the paint on the walls. So I'm going to set up for that, and we're going to show you how you paint wicker. Okay, so we're going to take this black wicker lampshade and paint it cream. I'm expecting it's going to take at least 2 coats because the black is not going to cover right off the bat. And painting wicker is not hard, it's just a little bit messy. So I like to start with the inside first. And because it's wicker, it's been woven together. So what that means, and it's hard to see it, I'm gonna just get another load here. I have to go back and forth and wiggle the brush in to get into all the spaces where the wicker has been woven together. You say that 3 times fast. You just go back and forth. But what's happening on the outside, and I don't want any paint to glob up and fill in the holes between the wicker. So I go back and forth, and I can see right there, you can see, whoops, where the paint has filled in the hole between the wicker. I don't want that. So I'm going to go back and I go up and down. And rather than try and do it all in one coat, which I'm probably not going to be able to do, and you can see it's messy. You see it's dripping out on the other side here. See how it's gobbed out here? And do the same thing here. So this is a great lampshade to paint because it's in sections already. It's got a very natural division. So I would do the inside of one section and then do the outside of the same section. I'm going to go right across, go up with my gimp or my braid, and then go up and down. Again, if I don't try to get it all filled in on the first time, the first go around, I won't have big gobs of paint that I then have to go along afterwards and pick out. But what a transformation. It's going to be a much less intrusive kind of shade. It's going to be a gentle, I'm just going to go back and forth over that. I have almost got that all covered in the first go round. I can see a little bit of the black. And then I'm just going to kind of dab at these round brushes. I'm using the small brush for this because, again, I don't want a whole lot of paint. I want to just concentrate on one area at a time. And the big brush is going to give me too much coverage. And because it's a lampshade, and you will see underneath it, I do need to go back and do this inside. A little bit awkward here as I try to show you. And it's not a difficult thing to paint. You can paint lampshades. So this, I'm going to put a little more paint on there because I want it to soak right in. Chances are, if you're doing a wicker project of any sort, and it is wonderful to paint the wicker. I did a rocking chair. It was the very first thing I ever painted with the chalk paint. And it was a very good experience to paint wicker with this brush because it just wiggled right in. And I had to go back and forth. It was a crisscross, so I had to go back and forth in sort of 4 different directions. But it turned out beautifully. It was one of my favorite pieces. Ended up being a prop and play. So here's a gob right here. See that big gob of paint? You don't want that to stay there. That's the kind of thing, that's the reason why you're going to come back and do a second coat. You'd rather do 2 thin coats than try and gob it on and have 1. So I'm going to go all the way around. I'm probably going to paint so many and then let it dry because I don't want to keep putting it down on a side and having it dry on a wet side. So I would probably paint 3 sections, wait for it to dry, paint 3 more, or, because I don't usually have that kind of patience, I will put it back up here. And I haven't painted where my finial goes. I could actually leave it right there and let it dry once I got around to so many sections, and I didn't want to be resting it on a wet side. This won't take very long to dry. I could put a fan on it and I would be able to paint this probably the whole thing in about half an hour. Wait maybe half an hour. It's going to take a little longer to dry than a flat piece of wood because the paint is being woven in, or the paint has to dry where all the weave is between the slats. There's actually little slats of bamboo and then thread going across here. So it's going to take longer to dry. The fabric will take a little bit longer to dry. But you can see how effective that's going to be when it's all done. It's going to completely transform this lampshade. And the other thing we're going to do is then, when the shade has been painted, we're going to paint all the way down here and change the lamp as well, so that the black doesn't show up now against that cream because it's a little bit too stark. So that is going to be in this room. Make a great reading light for a coastal room. Something about wicker seems to be an outdoor kind of coastal. I think it's because it looks organic. It looks real. It's made of grass and straw or bamboo, things like that. So that is our coastal room. And we will finish this room. When you come back, we're going to work probably on the gold of the trunk, and we'll work a little bit more on the chairs. And then we're going to play with some art that I kind of have it in my head right now. It'll hopefully come out on paper before the next show. But we're going to show how this paint can be used in an artistic way beyond your furniture, but actually on canvas. And that will be sort of the completing piece for this room. The next episode is we're moving to the bedrooms. We're going to start on the master bedroom. It is in the process of being painted right now, and that room is going to be in a French style. So we have a pineapple four-poster bed for that room that we are going to paint, plus a number of other pieces of furniture. So I hope you join us for episode 8, that will be.